Niagara 124, your source for news, entertainment, food, and jibber jabber. Put on your thinking caps, burn your fuse up there alone, and prepare for your debriefing on current events. This week on Niagara 124. Niagara Falls in serious peril? Pfft, yeah, right. Please, you gotta be kidding me. Do you know how many times we've almost gone into default? Nothing's gonna happen. We're Niagara Falls. Oh, and same thing with Toys R Us. You guys all need to chill. All this and more on 124. Hello, can you go? Everybody on this fabulous Friday, September 22nd, 2017. Welcome to Niagara 124. As always, I'm Nico.
I'm Joe.
Bobby ain't here right now. He ain't coming. He ain't showing up. He told me last night, he's like, I'm not showing up. Forgot to tell you last week. And I was like, that's okay. We got Joe. We got Nico. We got a box. I got a copper pineapple that you could see if you watch our show on the Niagara 1/24 YouTube page, where it is uploaded every week. Because that's right, we're putting it back up, and it's got video this time.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
And also, for those of you who are watching the video, you can see I have these sunglasses we picked up the other day. They got bottle openers on them.
Yeah, he didn't know what those... Every single person I've told him, like, what are those? They're like, are they things for your ears? I'm like, yes, giant metal clips for your ears. They're bottle openers.
I'm not sure if they'll work that well, but...
They don't. You'll break your glasses, but, I mean, it's cool in theory, man.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta tell you this. So I was gonna tell you this before, but before the show came on. So you know your favorite mayor of Niagara Falls? What was his name again?
Wait, what?
What was your favorite mayor of Niagara Falls? You said was the guy who balanced the budget, longest serving mayor.
Well, I've slowly changed my views as I've read through the 80s. It was Michael O'Loughlin.
Yeah, O'Loughlin. I gotta tell you. My dad had him as principal of his high school.
Oh, yeah.
He hates him. He hates O'Loughlin. Like, despises him. So, I think that might be because he was principal of his high school, and that might have had something to do with it.
We went from a guy that was an ex-Methodist priest to a guy who taught PE and then was the principal of a high school.
According to my dad, he was a terrible principal because he got in fights every day.
He did not.
Or fights on most occasions.
Oh, well, everyone got in fights. It's Niagara Falls. Like,
yeah.
What, you think people didn't fight?
No.
Lackey fought so hard he had a stroke. I mean, he fought with his own party, he had a stroke.
And died?
Actually, no, retired. His wife died. He married his wife's sister, and then he died.
You gotta write a movie or book about this guy's life.
Well, Lackey's grandson Blake was supposed to write memoirs of Edan Lackey, but apparently that never happened because I've never found it, and that's something I'd like to read. But yeah, we should make a movie about Edan.
Yeah,
we should just make a movie about Niagara Falls from 1960 to like 1989.
You want to play Lackey?
I'll play all of the mayors.
We just put different hair pieces on you?
Yeah,
or?
just like shave it here, put a mustache here, get shorter, get taller, get thinner, get thicker.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like you're Daniel Day-Lewis. You can take so many roles.
Yes.
So
it came out in the news that New York State has finished their audit of the city of Niagara Falls, the financial audit. Yeah. And the comptroller of the state in DeNapoli was like, hey, you guys are going to be out of money by December. You're going to go bankrupt by December.
I heard that. My parents were telling me. I talked to him about that and the Seneca thing and stuff.
Well, here's kind of the ridiculousness of the idea that, oh, Niagara Falls is going to run out of money, default on all their loans, and go bankrupt. One, we're a natural wonder of the world. If that happens, it looks worse for New York State than it does for anyone else. It actually kind of doesn't look too good for America if the American side of Niagara Falls goes bankrupt. So, A, that'll never happen. B, in 1976, we almost defaulted 4 times. 4 times. Like, you could look it up. We didn't, because we cut all, basically discretionary spending.
Yeah.
So, like, if it wasn't necessary, we cut the spending. And that's what saved us. And guess what we're doing now? As of July 1st of this year, it's already been in effect. We cut all discretionary spending. So,
nice.
Therefore, we're basically doing what actually balanced our budget back in the 70s and 80s was, hey, we'll cut all the spending that isn't important, and we really have. We've cut back on all unnecessary funds.
Very nice.
Everything has to go through, like, City Hall in order to be approved now.
Yeah.
And we just struck a new deal with several of the unions over their healthcare costs.
Wow.
To kind of cut those costs a little bit, because those were steep costs.
It's a very difficult thing to strike a deal with those unions.
No. What? No.
What? Unions difficult to deal with? What?
Joe, I don't know if you know about the history of Niagara Falls.
Involving organized labor?
Yeah, don't. No, Lackey came to settle a union dispute, and that's one of the reasons he ended up having a stroke, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
It's great. So,
needless to say, Niagara Falls is not going anywhere.
It's doing just fine.
We've been around for 125 years. It's going to take a lot more than, oh, we have no more casino money to put us in that deep of a hole.
So good transition from that. Maybe it would take a nuke. Speaking of nukes,
that was the worst transition ever. I would have transitioned, and Pints for Progress was last night. We voted on local projects, showing how important like the community cares about each other.
There was a great band called Pangea.
Pangea is awesome.
Which are basically fish if fish didn't sing.
They are not. They're fish if fish. Or you come on.
That's a compliment. That's a compliment.
But no, they are great. I need to cut a deal with them. I'm the manager of WNIA.
If you can get them to come,
we need to get them to come
if you
here.
can come and get them to do a concert,
I'm
that'd be
gonna try
great.
to make that happen because they are like really.
They're good.
Really smooth.
Yeah, they sound good.
I actually I had a pint of beer last night.
Yeah, you were telling me you were jamming out to that while you were
jamming out to Pangea with like a plate of nachos and onion rings and a pint of beer.
It's the best way you can do it.
It was like surreal.
Yes, very true.
It was wicked. I was there with Sheepy. I was there with Sheepy. Sheepy was there too.
Yes, Sheepy was there.
That's probably the beer talking, but
it probably was.
Sheepy was there too, but there's a lot of people that follow Sheepy, and they're like telling Sheepy like they couldn't find Sheepy, and Sheepy's tweeting like, "Oh, I see you," and they're like, "I was like right in front of you, and I didn't see you." I'm like, and I'm sitting here like, well, I mean, cartoon sheep, you know.
It's kind of hard to miss.
It's hard to miss. So for people to be missing this cartoon sheep as much as they are, yeah, if you're ever bored, ladies and gents, you could always check out sheepyniagara.com. I forgot to mention this in the last show. Sheepy started paying for Sheepy's blog, so now it's actually just sheepyniagara.com.
Wow.
Because Sheepy is making more bank than any of us here on the show.
Way more popular than us for some reason.
When did Sheepy become Frasier? Suddenly, Sheepy is now Frasier. So
wait, that means we're
Cheers.
We're Cheers.
We're Cheers. We have the beer, duh.
Yes, you always want to go. We all know your names.
Yeah, we know all of our 2 listeners' names, ladies and gentlemen. I always feel like I overdress for this show. Like,
for those of you who are watching the video feed, he's dressed like Sean Connery in like Goldfinger.
The name's Bond. recession bond.
Name's James. Carpet bomb Syria.
No. Okay, folks. For those of you who remember the olden days, the archives are still on Niagara 124's YouTube page, and we were listening to the show where James just offends everyone, and we found the one where we actually got cited because James flat out stated we should carpet bomb Syria. And I was like, you can't, and we went to him, we're like, you can't say that anymore. And he's like, why not? I said, you said we should carpet bomb Syria. He's like, I did not say we should carpet. I said it's a viable option to carpet bomb Syria. He said we should. There was no viable option. Like, there's no twisting his words. He also did Sunrise Over Moscow, which is both, like, that is like the magnum opus of James for the 3 episodes he managed to get in the studio. Because every other time he slept through the show starts at noon, he slept through the show.
Well, I mean, this is the man who can sleep through a stab wound, so are you really that surprised?
Yeah, James. Oh, James. Left to become an Anglican priest. I haven't heard from him in a while.
Perhaps he's doing Anglican priest things.
He called me one time and then fell off a cliff and blamed me for it. James was an eccentric boy.
Quite. Speaking of eccentricity...
Oh, now
Kim
we're going
Jong-un!
It's a Rocket Man!
And for those of you who didn't hear, we played Rocket Man on the intro. Because, as to quote the President of the United States...
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission, gonna kill himself and all of us. In the meantime, turn right to Iran over there, who also needs to stop, because the Iranian people... second only to the terror they have over the entirety of the might of the U.S. military, the Iranian people are most afraid of Iran's leaders. It goes, the U.S. military, the strongest military in the world, and then it goes, themselves. The only thing you have to fear is yourself, apparently.
Donald.
That's how the quote goes, right?
I think that's how the quote goes, Mr. Trump.
Did you see Zimbabwe?
What did Zimbabwe do?
They were all just sitting there, like, with their hands, and they were just, like, shaking their head. Like, it was tragic.
Zimbabwe's just like, we've seen Robert Mugabe speak, and this guy is worse than him.
Oh gosh, who's in charge of the White House staff? Not the White House staff. Who's that? Kelly? Is that Kelly?
No, was it Kelly, or are you talking about the ambassador to the UN?
No. I'm talking about that guy.
That guy? Mm-hmm. Which one?
Look it up.
Because a lot of them have been fired since I last knew who they were.
Yeah.
There's that issue of trying to figure out who's who. The one that
spent all of his time, who has no poker face. The chief of staff is, John Kelly. And he's like a former military guy.
Yeah.
Like, general.
Yeah.
And the first time he was ever there when Trump talked, his face was just like this. And then when he was talking at the UN, he was like this the entire. He was like this. He was like this. He was like this. He was holding he was sitting here every time, like when he called him Rocket Man and he put it in North Korea, and he's like being a general. He's like, oh, we're gonna die. He's like, oh, we're gonna have to go to war.
Yep. Meanwhile, Kim's just up there like, I am so lonely.
And Kim Jong-un responded, according to the translation, said Trump is a dotard, which is allegedly a word meaning a feeble old man. It's like a word meaning a feeble old man whose mental capacity has degraded to a significant point.
But
that is what it was. That's what it was translated to. Allegedly, the original Korean, and I haven't translated myself. I was trying to. I need to find a translation. Literally translates to raging old beast man or something. And but it got translated down to this word that no one knew the meaning of because we decided that Kim Jong-un needs to sound smarter than our presidents.
Oh God!
I mean, obviously, who has the better haircut? Of these two.
In all honesty.
Who has the better hairdo?
If I'm gonna judge, they both look dopey, but I would actually say, since Kim's is real,
Trump's is real, it's just elaborately combed over.
It's just horrendous. It looks like there is a dead blonde gerbil living on his head. And
are you insinuating that our glorious leader does not have true flowing hair?
No,
Our glorious leader goes to Mar-a-Lago and hit a perfect game of golf on his first try when he was 3.
Our glorious leader does not use the bathroom.
I think that's a bit much.
I think that's a bit
Well,
much.
it depends. Do you ask the Russians? Do you ask the Russians?
They'd say yes.
Yes. Apparently, he has
He
some...
quite enjoys it.
our show is... Oh, gee, oh boy, our show is a train wreck.
But in all honesty, do this insanity. I'd like to reiterate the fact that I highly doubt North Korea will do anything stupid or that there will be a nuclear conflict or a war out of this. I highly doubt it. I put basically 0.0000001%.
See, I've just decided I need to dress to the nines everywhere I go. In the event that a nuke hits, I have decided I need to be dressed in my best and prepared to go down like a gentleman. But I would like a brandy.
Yeah, and I'm ready to play the Fallout soundtrack. Not sure which one I pick. Should I pick Fallout New Vegas or 3 for my Apocalypse soundtrack?
Play I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire.
Well, yeah, that's good, but I also want to see if I should play Big Iron to make me look like an outlaw.
No, what you need to play is Near My God to Thee.
Really?
Yeah, that's the song that plays whenever the world ends.
No, I thought it was We'll Meet Again.
No, it's not.
Yes, it's that one from Dr. Strangelove. From Dr. Strangelove.
No, look up Ted Turner, you know, like Turner Broadcasting that owns like TBS, TNT, Cartoon Network. They own everything.
Everything?
Yeah, like everything is owned by Ted Turner. He had a tape made, and they found it in 2010. It was called the End of the World tape.
Yeah.
And it was to be played on a loop if the world were to end.
Yeah.
And it was literally just the army band from like 1978 on a VHS tape, really low quality.
Yeah.
Playing Near My God to Thee on a loop until the nuke eventually took us all out. And I just find that funny because that's just like a Titanic thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Near My God to Thee played, time to die.
Not sure why once again, I'd go with I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire for the irony it would give. I want the irony with my Apocalypse.
See, I would want them to play there's 3 different versions of Near My God to Thee.
Really?
And the one that's in the movie Titanic is not the right version. That's the American version.
Oh, okay.
The one that's in Night to Remember is closer. I think that's the Aubrey version that was in Britain. But they always said there's another one, and I don't know if it's the Bethany version or there's a third version. That is the one they always thought that Wallace Hartley, the band leader, would have played because he mentioned how much he liked that one.
Huh. Very
and
interesting.
that one's personally, I like that one the best. It's a little bit it's a little bit dramatic without being depressing.
Oh, well, I mean, it's the Titanic, so
Hey,
expect it not to be
I
depressing.
love Titanic. Everything about Titanic.
Draw me like one of your French girls.
Oh no.
Sure you like that part?
No. I know how to play that part on piano.
Really?
Yes. I remember I was playing that our old GM when I was playing like My Heart Will Go On, and I'm playing it. And they're like, oh, is that they're trying to sing to that, and they're like, why are all the keys off key? Because they're trying to sing My Heart Will Go On to this flourished piano piece.
Yeah.
And the old GM Jake looked at me and he's like, I know exactly what scene that one's from, you jerk. And I'm like, oh, you do you?
Oh.
It's like lay across the bed. I mean the couch. I mean just go there. I know too much about Titanic.
You really do. Like
882 feet 9 inches in length, 46,000 tons.
What is your obsession with the Titanic?
I saw the movie when I was like 3 or 4, and it never stopped. I've been to like 6 or 7 different artifact exhibitions. I own a replica rivet. I own way too much Titanic memorabilia. I own enough coal to probably start the Titanic back up.
Nice.
Yeah, I own way too many copies of the movie. I own way too many VHS tapes of documentaries no one will watch anymore. Way too many books. I actually own the Titanic handbook explaining each and every room in the Olympic-class ships. Specifically the Titanic, because the Titanic had an enclosed promenade on B deck that the Olympic didn't have. Or was that A deck? I think B deck was always enclosed.
Your Titanic fandom is as much as my Deadhead fandom.
Oh, it's bigger. It's worse.
Really?
Oh yeah, I can name like all sorts of weird, obtuse Titanic facts.
Yeah, I could name you good
Both
years.
of the movie and of the boat. Although in the movie, I have a favorite scene. It is when the water goes through the hallway and destroys the first class hallway.
Oh.
And within that, I have the favorite door. It is the door that bursts out midway through the scene at a 45-degree angle. That is my favorite door in my favorite scene in my favorite movie, Titanic, 1997, James Cameron. Even though I don't like James Cameron.
Why is it not like the draw me like one of your friends?
Because I like the boat.
Oh.
Like, people at the end of Titanic cry because they're like, oh my gosh, Jack and Rose are back together. I cry because I'm like, oh my gosh, my boat is back. Like, I have no shame in admitting that I cry profusely to architecture. It is beautiful. It is the purest form of art. It is utilitarian art.
Just to be clear, you're looking at a boat, I'm looking at a girl, just to get this right.
Are you questioning me? Why would you look? Yeah, you're looking at a girl that was recorded 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
That movie turns 20 this year.
Oh, very nice. I mean,
I'm 21, gonna be 22.
it was like 97, right? Like, when did that movie come out?
It's 20 years old this year, folks.
Oh, yeah, it is. Wait, no. Wait. God, I'm dumb. Yeah, it's 97. I'm sorry!
I'm assuming you never did math in high school.
I thought you knew I was horrendous in math.
I didn't realize you were that horrendous in math, Joe.
I'm really bad at math. Like, I can do basic mathematics. Don't get me wrong, I'm not the worst at math.
You do basic mathematics and you can't figure out what 20 years ago from 2017 was.
Of course I can figure that out.
It took you like 2 minutes.
No, I had it the first time. 1997.
Rocket Man. Seriously, Rocket Man.
If we're talking about favorite movies, though.
Yeah, let's just do that. No news happened this week.
There's more. No, wait, there's more news. I'm trying to think. Hurricanes.
Let's not.
Puerto Rico got hit.
Oh no, let's not. Okay, my entire freshman year, we were known as the Death Show because our first episode consisted entirely of people dying. And as you listened in, our first 2 seasons were basically like everyone that had died. So let's talk happy things.
Before we get to the Puerto Rico, or no?
Okay, fine. Let's just get it out of the way.
Let's just get it out of the way.
Let's just peel off that Band-Aid.
A hurricane hit Puerto Rico. From what I've heard, it's very bad. That, and also an earthquake in Mexico.
Oh, yeah,
Everything's going wrong.
I was pointing this out, and this is like a horrible, like, I don't want to say it's a, we're politicizing things, but.
Oh, boy.
Like, when people are like, oh man, we decide to deny climate change, and then 7 hurricanes show up and 50 earthquakes, and it's like literally the earth is like, look at this.
Do you not see this? Do you not see this, Ted Cruz? Do you not see this? Most of the Republican Party.
Is climate change a thing?
Yes.
The climate is changing. I mean, clearly, it's the first day of fall and it's like 80 degrees out.
I mean, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that global warming is a thing. I'm saying that the climate changes. Kind of like how the political climate changes. We went from 8 years of,
Barry?
We went from 8 years of, wow, I wish Obama would just say what's on his mind instead of stumbling through and trying to be all polite and stuff, to, oh, please, can we please go back to when you just stumbled through being polite and stuff?
Yeah, but I actually think I've heard somebody argue that Trump's election was bound to happen given some of the recent circumstances surrounding the political system and such.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, given the fact that the sort of coastal elites were running the Democratic Party and weren't really looking out for working class people.
So, I mean, if you look at the map, it's literally like, hey there, New York. in California.
California.
Hey, checkmate, rest of the United States. And they're like, well, Hillary won the popular vote, but she won the popular vote because of California and New York.
Precisely.
If you take either of those states, specifically if you take California out of the equation, Trump wins the popular vote.
Yeah.
It's like, that is not how the popular vote works, of course,
No,
but
the Electoral
it just shows
College
that,
is
like,
actually who wins.
this is the reason the Electoral College is in place, to make sure that you don't just campaign in California and win the popular votes.
Exactly.
That being said,
Speaking of Clinton, did you hear about her book?
you know, it's funny now, everyone is starting to realize, as much as they're like, she should have won, she won the popular vote, everyone is beginning to realize, like, oh no, there was no winning. There was no win in this election.
There was no win.
I mean, like, Hillary, yeah, you lost. You lose, like, I don't know, every single time you run.
Yeah.
It's like, and you're blaming Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
Like, Bernie Sanders took too long to prove me. Here's an idea. Go to the Rust Belt and try to get those votes like, I don't know, Bill said, because guess who's likable in that? Bill. And Bill has more, I mean, I've never seen a man who has so much dirt, who has done so wrong, has done so many horribly wrong things, both politically and personally.
Yeah.
And yet everyone still loves him because he's so slick. It's Slick Bill Clinton.
Slick
He's got
Willie.
a saxophone.
Slick Willie.
Slick Willie's got a saxophone, man. He's gonna sax you up, man. Like, what is that? I don't get it.
She also blamed, like, Comey releasing the emails.
Clinton created the industrial prison system.
She did it, yes.
It was, and Bill did.
Bill
and Hillary, I mean, that power couple created the industrial prison complex.
The Clinton Foundation took money from Algeria so they could get off their human rights abuses.
And honestly, when we're saying this, we're not saying Trump's any better, because he certainly is not.
Nope.
Not even close.
Not at all.
But we're saying that, like, I mean, you have an option. Would you like a dumpster fire or a garbage truck fire? I mean, one can drive. I guess that's about it. They're pretty much the same. I mean, one can. I guess the truck fire, you can drive it a couple of feet before it explodes.
Well,
I don't know what to tell you. This was a really bad election.
Yeah, and it really.
And I voted for. And you want to know how bad the field was? I voted for Jeb.
You voted.
I voted
you writ in Yeb.
Actually, okay, I'll take it. I wanted to vote for Jeb.
Yep.
I ended up voting for who was that nice guy from Ohio that kept saying stupid things?
Kasich?
Yeah, I voted for Kasich in the primary. And
You didn't vote for Please Clap?
He was out by the time it came to New York. He had quit.
Please Clap.
I wanted Jeb so bad. I wanted Jeb because I knew, with the current political climate, Jeb is such kind of a calm, awkwardy type person.
Sad.
Like, please clap. You know, he's like your your awkward uncle that's like, hey kids, how are you doing? Like, hey, I brought you these things from Florida. I got you a snow globe from Miami. Hey, like, you know, he's that guy. And honestly, what we need right now, with everything going to, like, crazy town, was a guy that was like, hey, it's okay, everyone. Snow globes, Miami.
But getting back to what I was saying previously, I didn't think he had much of a chance, because what Trump tapped into were the people who were cynical and jaded with the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, and the fact that they had not helped Rust Belt and working class people and had fully ignored them during most of their time. This is something most people don't know. The Democrats are perfectly willing to throw working class people under the bus, just like Republicans are. Economically, Democrats and Republicans both thoroughly enjoy messing with working class people's economic stature. They might pay vocal service to their social problems, but economically they really don't care. That's the main problem. Economically, they never touched it. They never touched, like, the sort of things that would help working class people.
I mean, it was, and this was the only, SNL kind of hit the nail on the head here on one of the few times when they were in, like, Hillary's gonna win it.
And they weren't like Trump is Hitler?
Yeah. On the occasional time, one time they went and they were pretending to do the debate, and they said, so, Hillary, you're just not going to answer any question about your policy, are you? No. You know, and that's true. It was like, I mean, Trump spent a lot of time attacking Hillary, but then he would have like these broad, like, we're gonna make America great again. We're going to increase the jobs. We're going to do this. Like, here's what we're going to do. And Hillary spent all her time releasing apps that would put insults that Trump said on your profile picture. I mean, her campaign released an app that would put Trump insults on your profile picture.
Didn't they also have a fact checker app?
Yeah. They also, I mean, you want to know how bad this is? Hillary Clinton received the questions to one of the debates in advance.
Yeah,
I figured. Like, she got them in advance. And she still lost. Even if she won the popular vote, she lost most of the continental United States.
Exactly. And here's the thing. She had everything loaded for her. Like 95% of the media was giving her a tongue bath and talking about how great she was, ignoring the problems that came with her. They were lambasting Trump, still are.
That's how they lost. And this is what got lost. Everyone was so busy attacking Trump. Oh, and she wants to blame Comey because that Comey thing pushed everyone over the edge.
That's what she said in her book.
You know what? I mean, yeah, it did push everyone over the edge and finally say, I'm so sick of this.
But you did it, Hillary.
But here's the deal. It's not that she did anything. Hillary, for that to be reopened and that to push everyone over the edge, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. That was not like suddenly everything was perfectly clean and everyone was ready to vote for you and then that came back out and everyone said, oh, wait, she's a horrible person. How? I didn't know that. I had no idea. And then suddenly jumped ship. Like, they were ready. They were itching for anything.
I couldn't tell by her fake laugh.
You want to know what happened to the election?
What?
People were so done. They were so sick of the media.
Yeah.
They were so sick of the mainstream.
Yeah.
They were so sick of everything that they just were like, you know what? What could possibly go wrong? Let's put the businessman in.
Yeah. That's basically what I've been saying, yeah.
There's always an inversion. If you look historically, there is... I'm going to go back to Hoover.
Hoover?
Hoover. I want to say it was Hoover.
Was it? Who are you talking about? Like, what kind of president?
McKinley, Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge. Yeah, it was Hoover.
Hoover?
Okay, so Hoover was elected president in, like, the late... Like, in the 1920s.
Yeah,
right? So
before the Great Depression
Right before the Great Depression hit, Hoover is elected. Hoover was a businessman.
Yeah.
Hoover was like this excellent businessman that was elected because the 20s was all about business. So we didn't want a politician. We wanted a businessman.
Yeah.
The Great Depression hit. The Hoover Town started happening. Yeah. Everyone blamed Hoover and these businessmen for everything.
Yeah.
So we elected a
FDR.
Smooth-talking politician, FDR.
Yeah.
Now, one of the historians, if you ever watch the presidents on like History Channel,
yeah, I watched that.
They mentioned the fact that, let's say it was the other way around and FDR had been elected before the Great Depression.
That might not have happened.
Imagine, this is just...
Oh, yeah.
Imagine that a smooth politician was elected instead of Hoover.
Yeah.
When the Depression hit and everything started falling apart, people would have said, we don't want all this smooth-talking politician. We want a businessman.
Yeah.
And would have put Hoover in.
Probably.
And guess what happened here? We don't want a smooth-talking politician. We want someone that can get us our money. And they elected a businessman from a series of politicians.
Yeah.
It's the 30s again.
Yeah, but then again, Hoover wasn't as, say, vocal as Trump.
No, I mean, it's... I'm comparing strategy. If there was another businessman... The other reason is... And I'm actually doing one of my... I have to do a project for political science.
Oh.
And I'm doing in local elections, name recognition surpasses any other thing.
Oh,
so no matter how negative you are, I'm trying to figure out if
name recognition kind of puts it
your
over.
name is recognized and people know who you are, you're still gonna win, even if like you shoot a baby.
That's probably very.
It's an extreme scenario.
Or you shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue and you could still get elected president.
Like, I mean, and honestly, if we need proof on that, you want to talk about there's not much more of a recognizable name across America. I mean, there was two recognizable. Clinton's a very recognizable name.
Yeah.
But heck, Trump is a very recognizable name.
Yeah.
I mean, you had two very recognizable names
running.
And the thing is, as negative as fluff around Hillary is, I mean, come on! Trump did everything wrong!
Everything.
Like, if you study political science, like, no, you should not be saying you can shoot people down Fifth Avenue.
You shouldn't be talking about women like that.
Lock up your opponent. You shouldn't be releasing there shouldn't be a tape release saying the horrible things.
Grab them.
And then you still win, because people are just like, But the other option is Hillary.
But I'm throwing on
I mean, that's like how sad this entire thing was.
That's probably one of the many factors.
And we got to go back to the fact that the Democratic Party, and it came out, and this is where those leaks were, and they're like, oh man, remember when Trump, like, were looking through the Russian hacks?
Oh yeah.
The Russian hacks are about the fact that the DNC was hacked, and we found out that they basically rigged the vote against Bernie Sanders.
They literally rigged the vote against Sanders.
And
like
then,
Clinton,
because the Democratic Party has, I like to think that the Democratic Party are a bit more loyal to the Democratic Party than the Republican Party is.
Well, they're all lockstep.
Yeah, like the Republican, you don't see people in the Republican Party, Debbie Wasserman Schultz jumping on the grenading. Like, I mean, she jumped on, that was even her issue. They did nothing, just because she was the chairwoman. It had nothing to do with her. Yeah. Like, there was the entire DNC was a mess at that point, and she jumped on the grenade, and it went away.
Yeah.
And it went away.
It did.
And then we twisted and said, well, why did the Russians hack the DNC? I bet you Trump has something to do with it. Like, did you miss the point where we rigged the election?
Yeah.
For Hillary, and then it still backfired?
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, I don't know what cartoon I'm living. I mean, forget House of Cards. We are living in some sort of convoluted political fiasco, and I really wish that any other candidate would have been running against Trump, because they probably would have, if they had even a modicum less baggage than Hillary Clinton. They probably would have run. Because I don't think people were voting for Trump because they're like, oh, I like Trump. They were voting for Trump because they were like, either I just can't do Hillary. Like, I can't, I mean, there's just like an impulse. People don't like Hillary.
Yeah.
Like, it's very impulsive. You could ask people around, like, you either like, oh, I like Hillary, or you just really don't like Hillary.
Yeah. Ever seen her laugh?
You know, you just, I wish that, and I would have loved, it would have been fantastic if it was James Webb versus John Kasich, or Jeb Bush, or any of those B-card people on the Republican line, and I would have been okay. And I would have, and know who would have been excellent right now with all this going on with Korea?
Who?
James Webb, the military guy. And he was a Democrat.
Really?
Yes, because he was military. He'd know how to handle this, and he wouldn't be screaming Rocket Man. I mean,
it's just insane.
When I say we are politically, we are a mess. I mean, the nice thing for all of this is it's going to have lasting effects as a country. But I live in Niagara Falls, and New York State does as it wants. And that is a fact. New York State does as it wants. Hello, Schumer.
Yeah.
As Trump
Hello,
is now
Schumer and Cuomo.
Trump is making deals with Schumer, and the Democratic, and this is how, if you want to hear how cartoonish this is.
Lay it on me.
Schumer and Pelosi cut this deal with Trump to get, DACA to not be rescinded. And basically they got everything they wanted out of this.
Yeah.
The Democrats started attacking Pelosi for making this deal.
I saw that.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I saw that.
Like, the Republicans are looking and shaking their heads going, I can't believe he made this, but they're not attacking the president. It's like the Democrats are attacking the Democrats for getting everything they wanted.
Well, it's partially, and I want to argue this, the people who are showing up to yell at Pelosi, it's partially part of the problem of the left eating itself. You have the far left social justice warriors who have insane purity tests. They don't want you making any deals with Republicans. If you make a deal with a Republican, it's making a deal with the devil to them.
And the funny thing is the media called this on election night when Trump finally won, as they're like drooling and in shock, and we're all in shock. We're all staring at the thing, twitching, because we have no idea, like, what just happened.
Yeah.
But the media said, we were just talking 2 months ago, like, how is the Republican Party going to survive? The Republican Party's, there's going to be no Republican Party. They have no stability, and no one's voting Republican. The Republican Party is going to cease to exist.
Yeah.
And now the Republicans just are still holding both seats in Congress and a president. And are about to get, like, Supreme Court justices and have majority.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to control every single branch of government. So what party is actually eating itself?
The Democrats.
It's the Democrat, and I mean, this...
And
the fact that our and the problem is there's this disillusionment with the two-party system, which I get. I get it. But at the same time,
we can't always be Europe.
Ontario will arrest you if you keep a kid under the age of 16 home alone.
What?
If you are under the age of 16 and left unattended, your parents can be charged with child neglect.
My parents did that before.
Under the age of 16.
My parents did that when I was 16. I was just fine.
I was reading on the CBC, they're referring to it as nanny statism. I'm like, oh, nanny statism.
Gee, it's almost like Canada is a nanny state.
Oh, man. Although, I swear the CBC beats us out on their children's programming.
You keep saying that with the giant banana.
There was a banana, an ice cream cone, and a taco creating a human pyramid for a unicorn puppet so he could play smooth jazz. I mean...
Well, kids programming, yes, but
PBS
wins in documentaries.
PBS wins in documentaries.
You've been watching that? I watched some of that Vietnam War documentary last night. It's good. It's good.
I know so much. I know enough about the Vietnam War that I don't want. I don't want to. I get it.
I find it as a very fascinating part of American history, so I'm really into it.
It's a very messy, horrible part of American history.
Well, yeah.
That goes all the way back to Kennedy.
Yep.
Though we don't talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, I mean.
And with just so many mistakes.
Yeah. But on the domestic front as well, you had the founding of the counterculture movement as well against the Vietnam War, and you had these sort of new social groups coming into action.
A counterculture and social groups coming into action due to several wars, and whoa, where am I hearing that? I mean, there's a reason that the millennials are the largest group of people, along with the baby boomers. Because we are the new baby boomers. We are the new baby boom.
What?
You didn't know that?
No, I mean...
Millennials are the largest generation now.
Really?
I think they surpassed baby boomers.
Wow.
Someone cite me on that.
I mean, it was bound to happen. What's like millennial time space? Like when did you have to be born?
1983 to 2000.
I was born in 98, so yeah, that makes me...
Yeah, you're a millennial.
Yeah.
We're on the tail end of millennial. Sometimes they cut it early, sometimes they cut it late. It's generally conceived to be 2000. I would say probably the new millennium is where you cut the line.
I'd say.
I cut the line as whether or not you remember 9/11.
I was 3.
I was 5. 2001. Yeah, I was 5. I was almost 6. I was in kindergarten. I remember that entire day. But I paid attention as a kid.
I didn't pay attention.
Well, you were like
I was
2.
3!
You were 3. Yeah, you were ridiculously young. But I mean, like, most people, like, if you asked anyone else that was, like, born in 95, most of them wouldn't necessarily remember.
Well, my sister was born in, like, 96, so it's like...
Yeah, you can ask, they'll remember the event of 9/11, but they won't remember, like, the day of 9. Like, I could tell you where I was, what I did.
I can't tell you.
I was in kindergarten. I was walking by the first grade classroom. The door was open. They were talking about a plane that hit the Twin Towers. I had no idea what she was talking about. Kept walking with my piano lesson. My mother picked me up. I got in the car. It was awkwardly quiet. I looked at her. I said, "Did a plane hit the Twin Towers?" Her jaw hit the floor, because how the heck did I know that? Went to my grandmother's house, grabbed my plastic fireman's helmet, and wore it the rest of the day. I remember my Christmas card that year was me standing in silhouette in front of the American flag, because that's what you did. I remember that that you would literally stand there, and any time a plane would go overhead. And remember, we have like 2 airports and an Army Reserve station here.
Yeah.
Every time a plane would go overhead, you held your breath, because you thought, oh no, not again, they're going to hit the power plant. You actually stopped what you were doing and held your breath and prayed you didn't hear an explosion. Like, you still do when you hear a plane. You jolt for a second if you remember that day. Like, I remember that. You stop for a moment.
I, on the other hand, don't remember. I can barely remember anything from that day.
Only
thing I remember is that I got out of school early. That's the only thing I can remember.
But the other thing is, and this is where there's kind of this cut, depending on whether or not if you remember 9/11 or not, depends upon what your view of all this security measure. Like all these people that complain about security. I never complain about security at airports. I will never in my life complain about having to go through 10 lines of security, because even if it is just placebo, I remember having to hold my breath every time a plane flew overhead because I thought it was going to hit the power plant. Like, I know what sheer terror feels like. You know, I remember 9/11. I have that book. I remember in 2002 going to my book fair and buying the memorial booklet. I still have it. I have the posters of the buildings blocks away with their windows blowing out and paper from the World Trade Center everywhere. People jumping out of the building because it was burning. It's like, and every time someone sits here and goes, I have to take my shoes off at the airport, I want to hit them. Because, like, it's been 16 years now it's been.
It's been a while.
It's been 16 years. Like, and I know that seems like a long time. It really isn't. And there was the first attack on American soil since, I mean, there was literally the first attack on the mainland of that magnitude ever. Since, like, the War of 1812. We don't fight war. There's no foreign attacks on American soil unless it's one of the islands like Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Like, there was never this level of, like, flying a plane into a building and a country being so deficiently unprepared that when they scrambled the jets after the first plane hit, the jets were nodding at each other, understanding they'd have to kamikaze themselves in any plane because we had no missiles active on it because it was peacetime. We had no missiles on our jets. We were not prepared. We were so unprepared for 9/11 to happen that when it happened, the world stopped. And I don't mean America stopped. The world stopped. Canada had to take all of our planes. Canada had to scramble everything they were doing and had to take every single American plane because we shut down every airport, and within an hour there was no plane in the sky except for Air Force One with W.
There was
that was it.
I think there was a musical about that.
While Cheney's sitting in a bunker.
I think there was a musical about that.
I think there was. But the fact is, people so don't understand, or they decide that it's now inconvenient for them and they get selfish, that they don't want to think for a second and realize it could happen again if we're not smart. And we're not, and once again, I don't think we're being very smart.
Well,
I think we're getting at that point.
Because I don't have a problem with airport security.
I'm not even talking about airport security. I don't think us as a country are being very smart.
To deal with, like, say, Islamic extremism, stuff like that?
No, to deal, not even that. We're not being smart, because even after 9/11, and that is the thing that disgusts me the most after 9/11, was the just ballistic amounts of racial profiling that happened. Like, and I get it, we're under wartime, and that was, like, a thing. But, I mean, we know that, like, it was like 13 of the 19 or whatever of the hijackers were from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
But we get our oil from Saudi Arabia, so we still won't cut the... I mean,
exactly.
It's still a sore point for me because I want us to be friends with Saudi Arabia. They're an important player in the Middle East. But at the same time, I wish we could hold some sort of accountability, like, hey...
You helped...
You were in... You know, this was... Whether or not you explicitly helped it or not... They were from your country.
Not only that,
when we went and killed bin Laden, that was like the most. I remember when that happened.
I remember when that happened too. And I remember when
that happened because this was. My mother looks at me and calls me because I'm in the shower. I was a sophomore in high school and I'm taking a shower and I come up. My mom's like panicking because she's like, the president's about to speak. They're not saying what it is and they're like, it's a big deal and we don't know what it is. And she's thinking like California broke off into the ocean or something. And I looked right at her and I said, they probably killed bin Laden. I said, there's no way that it would be this big. I said, they killed bin Laden. And my mother looked at me like, what? 2 minutes later, it comes to CNN, and it's like, we have unconfirmed reports that they have killed Osama bin Laden. And my mother looked like, how did you know that? I said, because there's only one thing that will shut down every single station in America. And that is if we got the guy that was the mastermind behind 9/11.
Yeah.
And when we did that, and this is where, you know, once again, I'm a fan of George Bush.
Yeah, you made that very clear.
Unpopular opinion.
It is quite.
I'm a fan of George W. Bush because you know what? any president that was alive that had to be president during 9/11, Katrina, a recession, the .com bubble burst, all those things. I mean,
he did really well during Katrina, now didn't he?
No, did anyone do well during Katrina though?
Not really.
I mean, considering where was the governor? Where was Jindal? Jindal was the governor of New Orleans. You know, yeah, we'll send FEMA over. The governor has to clear it. You know, the governor didn't declare a state of emergency. He wasn't doing anything. And once again, I'm sorry, but when had there ever been, with the exception of like Andrew in 1990, when did we ever have a hurricane of that magnitude just obliterate a city off the face of the earth? There was no... Under George, any president that was in would have had a hard time. Like, if Gore was president, it would have been just brutal. Yeah. Because there was no rule book that says, okay, what do you do when two planes hit the World Trade Center, a plane hits the Pentagon, 3,000 people die, and then a few years later, back-to-back hurricanes hit and blow up the Gulf, and then the entire economy has a stroke because of this prime lending
mortgage,
horrible practices of people just being talked into buying things that they couldn't afford again. It seems to happen every 20 years. I mean, what rule book is? There's no playbook. There's not like, okay, well, if that happens, I mean, we'll just do this. This doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And the problem was, W was elected as a peacetime president. There was nothing going on. He was elected after Clinton. What was going on? There was no wars. There was no this. We elected a guy that was like, hey, let's have a beer with him. And you know what? Honestly, here's the perfect guy. Because he wasn't standing there and doing what we're doing now, which is like, we're going to send nukes down here. He was like, okay, we're America. We're going to rebuild. Everyone calm down. Let's have a beer. You know, we'll be fine.
Can't fool me again. Nah.
You know, like, and then went and said, and we're gonna blow up Afghanistan. And I'm not gonna tell you in advance we're gonna do it. I'm telling you as it's happening. We're going to war in Afghanistan, and then we're gonna go to war in Iraq, and we're gonna go to war. We're gonna
go topple Saddam, and then that's gonna be so great.
It's gonna create a power vacuum. But once again, and everyone always pins on Bush the weapons of mass destruction thing.
Yeah.
I don't, as much as I love Bush, I cannot stand Dick Cheney.
Yeah, nobody can stand Dick Cheney.
Like Murderbot 2000 Dick Cheney was the mistake in this, because, I mean, W was W. I mean, that was his thing, is like, if someone told him, hey, there's nukes here, you know, there's like weapons of mass destruction here in these caves, you're gonna be like, well, we can't let that happen. You know, like we're doing with Korea. Like, okay, we need to go in there and stop this. Especially since his father had already fought Saddam, and Saddam Hussein had decided to retreat and burn down all the oil fields in a rage quit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the human rights violations that he committed were, I mean, obscene.
Oh, horrendous. But
so, I mean, we had one more reason, like, okay, now he has nukes. You know what? Time to step in there. And then it's like, well, he didn't have weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
There's actually different reports, and there's a fantastic story from 6th grade. This would have been, or it probably was 7th grade. It was during the election.
Yeah.
And we were trying to justify whether or not George W. Bush was a good president or not.
Yeah.
My teacher was against George Bush. Half the class was against George Bush. And then I was pro-George Bush and had a binder full of things. The debate got collapsed because we both used Wikipedia for sources. And she was like, you can't use Wikipedia. But this was back in 2007. There wasn't really a lot of there wasn't a lot of reliable sources for George W. Bush in 2007. Everything was like, a weird animated gif of George Bush with like, X's over his eyes and shoes being thrown at him. That was it. There was so Wikipedia was the most reliable source because I could backtrack the source and find out where it came from. But what screwed the debate was one single quote that both of us had. The against and for. And the quote was this. It had been confirmed by the group that Saddam Hussein and Iraq did not have weapons of mass destruction, but possessed the capability and materials necessary to create. So depending on who you ask, the other side ran with did not have weapons of mass destruction. Ha, you were wrong. This was stupid. I ran with had the materials, had the capability, had the manpower. Why don't we nip this thing in the bud?
Because then when you invade, you don't know how to turn Iraq into a suitable nation. And you end up botching that.
That was a power there was apparently no one has any clue of ever figuring that, because this is what keeps happening. But with that, I mean, the power vacuum was created, and then yes, like, you know, the
Al-Qaeda shows up.
Al-Qaeda shows up because that's what they do. But it was what it was. I mean, it was at the time when we were going into Iraq and Afghanistan. It was not to, like, be, you know, we were pissed as a country. We were so pissed. I mean, remember, we went into Afghanistan in 2002, and in 2003 we went to Iraq. That was right after 9/11. We were so pissed as a country that if anyone even looked at us funny, we were kept, you know, Team America World Policing all over the world. That's what we did. Because that's what we pissed off the country so much that, I mean, you forget. Guess who voted for the war in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Most of Congress.
Yeah, including
Sanders?
No, he's the only one
who didn't vote for it.
Including, to bring it full circle,
Clinton.
Yes, Hillary Clinton voted for both wars.
Yeah.
And that had been brought up multiple times by Bernie Sanders, but you know,
Sanders said, I didn't vote for it.
And guess what she said? And this is the only thing I agree with Hillary on. At the time, it seemed like the right thing to do. Based on what we knew, it was the right strategy.
So your defense is we were all extremely angry, and in a rash fit of anger, we proceeded to invade.
No. What I am saying is, at the time, with what we knew at the time, even though the UN would come in and say, well, there's no missiles, we're like, well, it took you 6 months to get in there to check. They probably hid them. It took them 6 months.
So your argument is it sounded like a good idea at the time.
Yes, my argument is with what we knew at the time, and with what we knew about Hussein, and what we knew about what goes on in the Middle East and these kind of scenarios, and, you know, recoiling from the worst attack on American soil, like, ever.
Yeah.
We were like, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and wait for everyone to try to buddy this, and, you know, another nation develop some sort of weapons of mass destruction. Like what happened with now Iran has nukes and North Korea has nukes because no one bothered to step in and be like, ahem, you want to cut it out?
Well,
So we basically stepped in and said, okay, you know what? We're through being polite. We're through being like the polite country. You're going to be wiped off the face of the earth. Goodbye. We're done dealing with you. Was that the right move in hindsight? Of course not. Because in hindsight, we know, well, they didn't really have the weapons. You created a power vacuum. That wasn't a good move.
Yeah.
We probably shouldn't have done that. But at the time, everyone was like, yes, go get them. And that is, there's this historical goofiness, society-wise, where everyone's like, that was a horrible thing. I can't believe he did that. Not realizing that at the time, that was a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And that's, half of history is just understanding that at the time, it is a brilliant idea. You two would agree with me on this. You might want to come in. We're talking about the war in Iraq.
Come in.
Hey,
Get in here.
We're bringing in Patriot Hour.
Get in here. We're talking about the war in Iraq.
You know what? I'm going to run an extended
Talking about
I'm
the war in
running
Iraq.
over 25 minutes. I don't even care.
Get in here.
I was justifying George
He's
W.
trying to justify George W. Bush's invasion of Iraq. I'm trying to say it was a terrible idea.
I'm saying at the time, with what we knew, it was the strategically correct thing to do.
Yes, but
I would actually have to agree with Nico on this one. At the time, when we looked at all the facts, and in fact, there's new information coming out now that me and Tyler are probably going to talk about in a couple weeks. By the way, I'm Collin from Patriot.
Couple hours.
Right?
We got a camera too. You guys are gonna be on YouTube.
Hell yeah. So basically, from what exactly is Nico saying is, when we got attacked, we had two options. We could either roll over and do nothing, or we could go in and attack. And we attacked the two basic terrorist ideologies that we knew of. One being in Iraq and one being in Afghanistan. Looking back on it, that was Bush's only option, and that's the one he went for, and that's the one that I currently support, and the one that Patriot Hour supports, by the way.
I wouldn't say that. I, Tyler Randall, co-host of Patriot Hour, actually
and manager of
marketing manager of WNIA, take a more libertarian approach to this. For instance, I think it was kind of a bad idea, mostly because, A, Turns out there was no weapons of mass destruction. However, I do give it to you that you cannot fault George W. Bush for faulty
There's actually
information.
a quote that I had just used that I was talking about back when I had a debate back when Trump was still president. We had a quote that was, while Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction, which is what gets glommed on, he had both the materials and the capability to create said weapons.
Yes, he did.
Which is what we're dealing with in Iran and North Korea right now.
However, you also have to look at it from the perspective is why did we... 9/11 was, who was it perpetrated by, Nico? Can you tell
Saudi
me?
Arabia and Bin Laden.
It was Al-Qaeda. I love Alex Jones. I like to throw out conspiracies all the time.
It was Bin Laden.
But it was Al-Qaeda. It was the terrorists. Now,
Saudis, yeah.
With 11
there
of them
was
being slaughtered.
minimum...
You can't blame an entire country
there were minimal
for that, but...
ties between Iraq and Al-Qaeda at this time.
Yeah.
Maybe some Al-Qaeda jihadis were out there hiding out, but we didn't know. And even if there was fucking not a lot.
Whoa, hey, dang, bro.
Sorry about that.
Have a dump on there.
What the hell, man?
We had to dump. Got a little passionate.
Dude, you're worse than Ron.
A little passionate there.
Hopefully we can edit that out.
I'm leaving it on the air, man. I'm leaving it. I don't even care anymore.
I got a little passionate there. I'm sorry about that. But minimum.
We don't want to get sued.
We already.
That's why we have that
we
button,
lost
Nico.
half our listener base
That's why
already.
we have.
Please.
That's why we have.
This is why I keep
dump
that button off, because I want it live. We'll do it live.
There are minimum ties between Iraq and Al-Qaeda. So why get involved? Why get involved in a useless war that has perpetrated trillions of dollars of debt?
Because Saddam Hussein was extremely supportive of terrorist procedures because he used them against his own people, including the use of chemical weapons.
So was
such
Saudi
as
Arabia.
massive
That
amounts
doesn't
of
stop
human
us from
rights
getting their oil, though.
violations.
The difference is they don't support terrorist organizations in a governmental aspect, whereas Saddam Hussein definitely has.
Wait,
Yeah.
are you saying the Saudis didn't support terrorist organizations in a government process?
The Saudi government.
The Saudi government did.
No.
Yes, it
okay,
did.
No, there was no definitive proof. Do not blame the entire country of Saudi Arabia.
Look at the Balkans. They raided
I am Balkan and Middle Eastern, so don't even bring that
They
into
raided the
this.
Saudi embassy in the
Hold
Balkans,
on.
and they found
With
it.
that information, I would like to say that 9/11 was Nico's fault.
Whoa!
Yeah, 9/11 was your Nico's fault, and he killed Jerry Garcia.
Okay, that I may have killed Jerry Garcia, and I don't like Ben and Jerry's
Patriot
in
Hour
Vermont's
has
a
to go
weird
on its
state.
merry
But
way.
yo,
Listen to us at 1:30.
how are you two allowed to have a show?
Sorry. Sorry. There you go.
Well, that just was a complete collapse of society. I'll drink to that. There's only water in here. No one.
I think my mics must stay microphone. They're the good microphone.
What? You left your phone in here? You don't get your phone.
Oh my god. But still, there's evidence with this.
We are so out
We are
of
so out of
time.
But we hope you enjoyed this little slice of a crossover. Listen to Patriot Hour. They're going to be next.
No, they're not. They're like, are they? No.
Are they 1:30 or 1 o'clock? Check the status.
They're not even on today.
They're on today. I saw them. They're on today.
Shut up. They're on right now.
Ha! I was
Just-
right.
They're not on today. They'll be starting in like a week or so. So, well, they did their show. I'm calling it. They did their show. They did their show. I mean, they were on. It was 1 o'clock. They showed up.
Oh,
Ay, ay, ay.
that was a fun discussion.
That was a disaster. I shouldn't put this on YouTube, but I'm going to
Do it,
anyway.
do it.
Because you know what? Niagara 124. Your source for news, entertainment, food, jibber jabber, and apparently Republican ideals.
Remember to like and subscribe the YouTube page.
Because even a Republican can have this hair.
Woo! Yeah,
Did I tell you about that?
yeah, he said, with that hair?
Yeah, Rob Pascal, who's running for city council. I was at Pines of Progress Street. He looked at me. I'm like, oh, I voted for you in the primary. And he's like, what? And he's like, okay. He's like, wait, what? I said, yeah, I'm registered Republican. He's like, with that hair? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a liberal Republican, but I vote for who I think is doing the right thing.
A rare breed, ladies and gentlemen, the liberal Republican.
I like politicians that don't try to start riots by screaming. Like W, he never screamed. He was just chill, and he'd be like, "We will defeat these terrorists. Now watch my golf swing." Woo!
Also, by the way, I got a shoe thrown at my face.
Oh, don't even get me started on that.
That guy, did you know the guy who threw the shoe at him? He got a giant statue of a shoe erected in Iraq to honor him.
This is my problem with Iraq. Like, you erected a shoe statue, a statue, if you will. Tune in next week where Bobby will be here and therefore be calming us down because he'll talk about video games or something, and I'll stop.
And I can talk video games as well.
Oh, yes. Yes, Yakuza. Okay, for Niagara 124, I'm not naming myself anymore.
I'm Jose.
And tune in next week.
Bye.